So what type of incentive? The market wants to understand what type of incentive they're going to give the people for being there. That's what the chastisation is about. And so the market needs to understand that, and we need to understand that. So if you're scared about NVIDIA going down, guess what? You should have never been there to begin with. So here's the first thing. Before we get into what we see, let's also understand what's going on. All right, so let's look at the overall picture. Let's always look at the overall picture is always the most important thing, because the one thing that's going to always kill us in the market is when we get short-sighted. Right? When we get short-sighted, we lose all focus on what's going on. You feel me? When we get short-sighted and say, this is what's happening right now. Trap, my NVIDIA play is killing me. It's okay, it's part of the game. That's why we don't buy stocks when the market is screaming high. That's why we take profits at certain positions. You know why? Because it behooves you to think that the market does this. It behooves you to think that the market does that. If you think that the market does that, this is not it. And so one of the things you also heard you say, well, that's where this word is also a killer. FOMO. That's why that word is also a killer. You know why? Because you see people making money and you think, oh, it's not going to never stop. That's why we tell people in the Patreon, let's get 100%, y'all. We get 100%. We take our profits, we good. You know why? Because if we can take our initial investment out, that's good. Now, one of the things I did tell my people in the Patreon, and I always say this, there's always a time where we got to rotate from saying this is a 100% environment or this is a 20 through 50% environment. We're in this environment. It may take a couple weeks for us to stand it, but we're in that environment. Here's what I'm also going to tell y'all. Here's what I'm also going to tell y'all. I can almost guarantee you that there's very few people who are already loading up on small cap stocks. There are very few people who are already in position with small caps to take advantage of it. So most people had to wait a while to see that that's where the pivot was going for a second and say, okay, now let me gradually pivot with it. That's cool. They did have a run, and that's okay, right? But for you need to understand a couple questions. You need to ask yourself this question: did the story change on any stock that I purchased? If the story didn't change on any contract that you purchased, if you're in a buy and hold scenario, you should not be thinking about, let me sell this stock because it's down. You bought a buy and hold. If you're in an option play, you got to ask yourself the same question. Did the story change? What environment are we in? Whether I got 1 contract, 10 contracts, or 5 contracts, that does not matter. Did the story change? If the story did change, you got to ask yourself this question. If it didn't change, how long do I have on this contract? Second one is, when do I cut losses? This is important for you. The one thing I always say to people is, Travis, he hear me say, boy, I see why you say that now. The one thing I cannot teach you is how to feel when it lost. I can look at it and be like, damn, okay, that's 1.6 million in the last 3 weeks. What we doing? Right? I got to January. What do I got going on? I'm asking myself now, okay, what's the story, Trap? We got to find that story. What does the earnings look like? What is this going on? The market has everything that it wants. The market still wants to sell off. What do I do here? What is the idea? What is the goal? Do I have to take a loss on this and move forward? Am I going to, let this one play out? That's part of the game. You can't avoid that. Yep, we'll go through months. Ask anybody on the Patreon. We had a killer year last year, and guess what? We got into September, punched us in the face for 8 weeks straight. All of September, all of October, and then the first week of November, that's when we started turning around. We had to battle for 8 weeks. Then guess what happened? We went from October, we got November, We got October, November, December, January, February, March. And then guess what April did? Punched us in the face again. And then we got punched in the face all of April when April was supposed to be a good month. And then what happened? We got May. Then we got June. And then we got the first 2 weeks of July. And then the last 2 weeks of July, we get punched in the face again. Who knows? Will it be? It's been 3 weeks now. Will we go into 4 weeks? Will we go into 5 weeks? I don't know. Because the market has everything that it wants. The market has the rate cut sitting right there in its face. The economic data is telling us what? The economic data that they're putting out is saying the market should be excited about this rate cut. I'm not going to say the Trump trade or the Kamala Harris trade. Nope. The market has an election that is exciting. Cool. Politics to the side. The market is always right. How we play the market is where the mistakes happen, where the losses happen. And you can ask yourself this question: am I going to let the market price me out? Am I going to let my greed? Am I going to let the fear? I'm looking at it like, damn, Trap, this thing down. It's cool. Cut it. Watch it. Here's one of the things I really want to say. Like, I sat down and I said, CrowdStrike probably will get to like around 225. To me, that's a good area for it. It's at about 230 right now. It's in the area, 233 right now. It's in the area. You know why? Because an event took place. When an event takes place, remember what I told y'all. Is it a market event? Is it an industry event? Or is it a company event? In this case, we had a company event that affected the market for a minute. That's cool. Is the company still the same? Yeah, it's the same company. But did it have an event? Of course. Do events like that bounce back overnight? No. You know why? Because the market going to chastise them for a minute. Stock went from 375 all the way down to, and I just sat there, I said, ooh, what it is? 233? 233.65. I said it should probably hit about 225. I made the post. I said probably about 225 is in range. It's in range. At this point, the market starts to say, all right, we done chastised you enough. The market, I know what the market gonna do. The market gonna say, okay, we done chastised you around this area. It's gonna go sideways for a little while. It's gonna wait till the next quarter earnings to really see what it's gonna do. You know why? Because they're gonna see who left. What did the revenue look like after the outage? Did you lose clientele? Did you pick up clientele? Did you give some money away? Because you're going to have to give some money away. You're going to have to dig into that free cash flow and give some people some money, because some people are going to say, hey, guess what? I stuck around. You owe me. I ain't leave. You owe me. So what type of incentives? The market wants to understand what type of incentive they're going to give the people for being there. That's what the chastisation is about. And so the market needs to understand that, and we need to understand that. So if you're scared about NVIDIA going down, guess what? You should have never been there to begin with. If you're fearful of this going down, guess what? You should have never been there to begin with. The goal of this game, or you can say, you know what? I did invest in this company at an all-time high because of my FOMO. Here, it's not the market fault, it's my fault. But guess what? I'm about to learn from it. Now, some of my option people, guess what? That's a part of the game for us, y'all. We wait on deals. Sometimes we get it when it's moving. We want to capitalize on what's going on in the moment. Sometimes the market gonna just give us an event that we have no idea what's gonna happen, and we gotta navigate through that. Guess what, y'all? That's part of being a trader. That's part of being an investor. It's part of the game. And so I'm gonna tell you something. It's in these moments. It's in these moments where you ask yourself, am I really built for this? My biggest loss of all time, in 3 weeks, I've lost $1.6 million, and I ain't scared to talk about it. I'm like, I'm cool. Ask my dog, Travis. I have not flinched. I'm in the house like, yeah, dog, this is kind of what it's about right here. This is kind of the game right here, dog. He like, what? I'm like, yeah. 1.6, 1.7 million in 3 weeks. I'm like, dog, he's like, I know he's me like, this nigga still playing back in the game, tripping. I'm like, bro, it's part of the game. It's part of the game. I've always preached that. I'm not exempt to the rules. I take my 100%, I put it on the side. I told my people in payroll, I said, hey, y'all, get heavy cash. We about to have a moment. Anything you in 100%, take that, because we're going to have a moment. We're going to have a moment. Guess what, y'all? The losses that you take in the options game is an operational expense. The losses that you take in the options game is an operational expense. It is necessary, and you cannot negotiate the necessary. You can't. So people be like, oh, man, you stupid for this, bro. Bill Ackman lost $425 million on a play. Guess what he doing? Still playing the game. Bro, you think I'm exempt? But guess what? I'm going to die playing the game.